Welcome to the top 5 sleepers of this 2022 NBA draft class, and let's get a few things out of the way. First things first, this draft class isn't very good, okay? Being 100% honest, comparing to last year's draft class where I guess 4 possibly generational players came out in the same draft class in no particular order: Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, Evan Mobley, and Scotty Barnes. And this year's draft class, we have kind of a drop off, if you will. It seems like it's B plus at the top. Each guy comes with their own significant flaws. And Jabari Smith, how good can he really get? Jaden Ivey, he's a little bit older, inconsistent, not really sure what he's going to be on the next level. Chet Holmgren, he weighs like 100 pounds, and Paulo Banchero doesn't have a lot of physical upside. And of course, Shaedon Sharpe as well, rounding out that top 5th. He's been tanking interviews on purpose. He was kind of weird, playing with the Kentucky media, seeing if he was going to come back for another college season. And it kind of reminds you a little bit of Josh Jackson, somebody who was going to be drafted by the Celtics number 3 before they took Jason Tatum, simply because he skipped over their interview. So it's just kind of a weird place to be right now at the top of this draft. And then the bottom of this draft, I think there's 2 significant tier gaps. You have that top 5, and then I have about 6 through 14 are all kind of the same players. Keegan Murray, Ben Mathurin, Johnny Davis, AJ Griffin, Ochai Agbaji, Jalen Duren, those type of players. And then below that, about 15 through 70 is all the other players, and they can throw anybody they want in there. You don't really know who's going to go where, like a David Roddy, like a Jake LaRavia, like a Gabe Brown, like an Ishmael Kamagate. Players are going very volatile in their positions from 56 to undrafted to 25, and it's all kind of up to personal opinion, up to the NBA scouts. So that's just one of the things that I want to get out of the way when we're grading this draft class. And when we're talking about sleepers, it's going to be guys who are going a little lower than they should be. Let's start with the first sleeper of the class, and it's not really a sleeper. I have Jaden Ivey as number 1. It's because I think he's the number 2 rated prospect in this class, and I've seen mocks have him going 4, 5, 6, or even possibly 7. I think they're sleeping on him. I think they're sleeping on his athleticism. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. He's Ja Morant, but 200 pounds at 6'4". What else could you possibly want? Freak athlete, generational type of player on defense. I think he's immediately going to step in and be a top perimeter defender in the league. I was disappointed with how he produced in the March Madness tournament, but at the end of the day, I think people are sleeping on him, and he's going to be much better than a lot of people are expecting. He's not that old as far as sophomores go, and he doesn't want to go to the Sacramento Kings. So can you blame the man? But I think Jaden Ivey is a sleeper in that if you don't have him as a top 3 player in this class, I think you're criminally underrating the kid because he is great. Number 2 is going to be Shaedon Sharpe, and mostly it's because he's been tanking his interviews, and I've been seeing mocks of him go to like pick 10, even a pick 12 to the Thunder. Now, say what you will about rumors and say what you will about speculation, but Shaedon Sharpe is the 5th best player in this class. You look at players who were rated number 1 or number 2 or number 3 in the ESPN top high school rankings. Those kids, 99 times out of 100, produce. The last one that was a complete and total bust, not named Sacramento Kings draft picks, I think was Harry Giles. And you know what? On saying that, Harry Giles was drafted by the Kings. So I'm an idiot, but at the end of the day, as long as you don't go to the Sacramento Kings, you're not going to be a bust if you're a top 3 high school player going into the draft. So that's why I think Shaedon Sharpe is a can't miss talent. You've seen the workouts. You've seen the specimen that he is at 18, 19 years old. Dude is a freak athlete already. Now, we just don't have any college tape on him. That's why there's question marks across the board. But Shaedon Sharpe, anything lower than 5 is going to be a steal for whoever picks him up. I don't care how many interviews he bombs. And now next up onto the actual sleepers list. And this is just because I've seen TyTy Washington fall into the late 20s, even possibly going into the 2nd round because people are just sleeping on him again. He had a horrible first round against St. Mary's. I get that. But now you look back, hindsight 2020, and you say, you know what? That is actually a quality loss. TyTy Washington comes from that mold of those undersized Kentucky guards that don't produce as well at the college level, but they absolutely ball out once they get to the NBA. Fool me once, shame on you, and fool me twice, shame on me, because Tyler Hero, Emmanuel Quickley, Tyrese Maxey, even last year's Brandon Boston Jr. produced a little bit. And I think any of the guards who go to Kentucky and have some top, we'll say 20 talent, need to be respected because they come to the NBA and they ball out and they offer valuable contributions to your team. Now, at the end of the day, he is going to be an undersized scoring guard. He's only 6'3", less than 200 pounds, so he's going to be a little bit of a liability on defense, but he's going to be just like all the other guys. He's going to make big-time buckets. He's going to be a baller, and the fact that he's been falling out of even the top 20 in a lot of picks that I've been seeing doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Now, I understand he didn't produce that well for Kentucky. He was hurt for a lot of it. He struggled with injury throughout the second half of the season, And of course, that first round exit was embarrassing as well. So I think if you're sleeping on TyTy Washington, you're going to be missing out on the talent. And I think as NBA scouts, it's our job to realize and recognize that we make mistakes with Tyrese Maxey and we make mistakes with Emmanuel Quickly. And more importantly, we make mistakes with Tyler Hero. So don't make the same mistake. Take TyTy Washington with a mid first round pick. Next up on the sleepers list, number 3 officially, or number 2, or number 1, we're already off the rails on what number we are on this list, is Andrew Nembhard. Now, initially, I was scoffing at this when I saw 6 rings as steal, take him as his point guard 2 off the board, but I went and watched the tape, and Andrew Nembhard is the number 2 point guard in this draft class. No surprises, I have Dyson Daniels as number 1, and Andrew Nembhard is a senior, so you look at that, you go, okay, he's got like 3 years of experience on all the other guys who are playing. But he is a very impressive, low ceiling, but good quality backup point guard that can go to any team in this point guard starved league and offer immediate contributions. He has a funky looking jump shot, sure, but he shot 38% from 3. He punished defenders when they went under the screen on the pick and roll game with Drew Timme. He's got 87% from the free throw line. He's a good facilitator, good athlete, good defender, has great size at 6'5". Andrew Nembhard is a can't miss talent somewhere in the middle of this draft. I have him as pick 18. So if he falls into the 30s or even into the second round, you are getting a steal. Now, let's be clear. His role offensively isn't too tough. Dribble the ball up the court, give it to Drew Timme or Chet Holmgren, and get the fuck out of the way. But he's a very fundamentally sound facilitator. He makes quick reads, and most importantly, he's not 5'11" like every single other college point guard. Do I think he'll ever be an all-star? No. Do I think he'll ever be an elite number 1 rated point guard in the NBA? No. But he can certainly find a role as like a league average starting point guard. And this league, ask the New York Knicks, ask the Washington Wizards, just ask the Boston Celtics. I mean, come on, is in desperate need of point guards. And Andrew Nembhard should go in the middle of this draft. Next up on the list is JD Davison, another point guard. And he actually had some high, I guess, late lottery hype going into the beginning of the season. And I don't know what happened, but he's fallen completely into the undrafted rankings. The website I use have him rated as 70-something. I think a lot of drafts have him in the 50s. JD Davison is another point guard out of Alabama who's fundamentally sound. He's not 5'11". He's a solid defender. His issue is that he can't shoot. He shot 30% from the three-point line, 72% from the free throw line, and he has that ugly squared up Russell Westbrook shot when he shoots his free throw. But as far as passing, he's a good facilitator. I kept saying this over and over in my previous mock drafts, but whenever JD Davison came on the court, Alabama played better. The game slowed down. They had their primary ball handler in Davison take over, pass the ball, get it to where he needs to go. And a lot of people are comparing him to Dennis Smith Jr. because he's got a great vertical. That's dumb because Dennis Smith Jr. was an awful point guard. JD Davison is a very smart facilitator. He's a solid passer, has good accuracy, good touch. He just needs to learn how to shoot the ball at this point, which he can't. He also has tremendously poor defensive awareness. He's not a great help defender, and on ball, he isn't especially a great defender as well. I'm hopefully attributing that to just being a young player overall. And his offensive game really lacks anything other than facilitation. He's okay shooting the three-pointer. He definitely built up some confidence as was more able to punish defenses once they were sacking off of him. But he's a terrible driver and finisher. He has no floaters. He has no hook shot. He's just a guy who's either going to shoot the three, drive hard, and kick it out. And his lack of driving means he's not going to be able to exploit mismatches. So he does a lot of this kind of preliminary probing the defense with the ball, but he doesn't actually attack, and he gets too passive at times. But he's one of my sleepers. I love his passing instincts. I love his athleticism. Despite that he's only 6'3", that's still good enough to be a point guard in the NBA. If he can ever lock in defensively, and remember, he's only a freshman, so he's going to be able to build upon this. He can be a starting caliber point guard in the NBA, which would be a huge steal if he lasts into the second round. And unlike Kennedy Chandler, who's going to go higher than him probably, you can actually raise your three-point percentages. You can raise your defensive awareness. You can't raise your height. Going up next in the sleepers, and initially I would have had EJ Liddell here. He was going to be one of my sleepers. A lot of people had him in the 50s in the second round, and then he shot up into the first round. He was going projected to the Bucks as I had him mocked. So at this point, EJ Liddell, no longer a sleeper for me. I hate you. I hate the fact that the NBA media has paid attention to you, but hopefully you get drafted somewhere good. Lastly, on the sleeper list is going to be my guy, Christian Koloko, and I mocked him earlier in some of my draft classes, and I'll be doing it again probably as the center 3 off the board. Christian Koloko is a very big, very solid rim running center, 7 feet tall out of Arizona. I love his verticality. Now, I think he's closer to being 6'10" than 7 feet tall, but his athleticism more than makes up for it. He has a freaky 7'5" wingspan, and he's going to be a very good rim running, rim protector in the NBA. Now, like with Jericho Sims last year, my other sleeper, there is zero offensive upside to him. What you see is what you get, and that's maybe a hook shot every 4 games or so. But he's high energy, he's athletic, and those centers will always have a spot in today's NBA. So if he lasts into the second round and you're a center-needy team, take the man. And that is going to be my top 5 sleepers in the 2022 draft class. Jaden Ivey, not really a sleeper. Shadon Sharp, not really a sleeper. TyTy Washington, Andrew Nembhard, JD Davison, EJ Liddell, but not really anymore, and Christian Coloco. Let me know what your thoughts are, what you agree with, what you disagree with, and I'll catch you in the next one.